God's morning to you all. The time is now approximately 7:35 a.m. here in beautiful Chicago, August 14th, 2026. I wanted to make this video mainly for myself, as always, but to provide a technical perspective on a recent discovery in Reddit. I haven't taken any trades on Reddit this year. A few times I looked at the chart and, I've thought of some trade ideas, but I don't believe I've acted on any setups. As always, we're starting on the highest time frame possible to get a top-down view of, you know, what we can anticipate to happen next. As always, this is not financial advice. I am not a licensed professional. So this is all, purely for entertainment purposes. And yeah, let's get into it. So looking at the yearly time frame, okay, as you can see from 2024 into 2025, these big body candles, right? Big body candles are great um, setups, whether it's a down close candle or in this case, an up close candle. We like to see retracement, right? We retraced pretty deep into this 2024 candle in 2025 and found highs above it to the tune of 282 and 95 cents. Okay, so here we are in 2026. We've dug into the um, wick of this 2025 candle quite a bit. Okay, and we opened above the previous year's close. I believe we first went up, and now in the um, later part of the year, we're moving downwards with obviously a bounce off of this 118, 119 level. Moving on to the 3 month, aka the quarterly time frame. So this is where my basis, right, where the setup for me is coming from. Prior to last night's news, if you didn't know, Reddit was chosen to be included in the next S&P 500 rollup. So from the morning of August 18th, all right, so that's next Tuesday, Reddit will be included in the S&P 500 index. That changes nothing for me and what I'm looking at. In fact, it gives a much, much, much sweeter opportunity for what I think is a pretty generational setup. So, as you can tell from this chart, Reddit, and there's not a lot of data points, so bear with me on this. Reddit does not move up prior to sweeping the lows of a down close candle, of a large body down close candle, right? So here we have, looks like Q1 2025. Okay, Q1 2025, wicks above the previous quarter pretty substantially, sells off. And then in Q2 2025, this is where 2025 finds its low, okay, below the low of this quarter, and then it makes new highs. So, regardless of the news that came out last night, this is still my perspective. We cannot find new highs on Reddit until the low of this Q1 2026 candle is mitigated. We need to come down here first. All right, below 119.40 or whatever the low of this candle is, 119.27. Okay, so inside candle for Q2, Q3, and this is also more signal for me in terms of where, or who has the strength, buyers or sellers. We peaked above the high of Q2's candle okay, around 208. We did this first, right? Usually the first move is not the real move, usually, especially when there's um, large imbalances like this one, right? So we peaked up first, which means the real move is a sell. And when I say real move, I just mean which trade will be the more outsizable one, right? So if you look at the open of this quarter around 175 to the high of 208 and some change, okay, that move compared to what is to ensue. So we're looking at 175 ish down to below 118. And my ultimate target, just under 100. And I'll show you why in a second. Um, this move far outweighs anything that you can find, to the upside. So this is my main vantage point in terms of where I'm getting this trade idea from. And we'll talk about what invalidates it and what we don't want to see if you're looking to sell this play. So that's that. Okay. Monthly time frame. On the monthly time frame, similar, there are some names that have completely invalidated this setup altogether. I believe CoreWeave, right now Circle S or sorry S CRCL, CoreWeave, CRWV. There are some names that have a similar look, but have completely invalidated um, the look. And I would say the difference is there's no upper wick on the previous month. Okay. So this previous month has already shown above these levels we want to sell. Okay. Has already shown it. And so if we come take a look at, if I can find the right drawing tool. So if you take a look at something in particular, and I just actually looked at this more recently in my analysis, these were buyers in 2025. Okay. Q4 2025. Here's the month of November. This was a strong um, lower wick off this monthly candle. These were buyers in this area, okay, from 211 down to 173. Once we got below this this level, okay, this became seller's paradise, evidenced by July's price action. We got pretty deep into this area and we sold off. Okay. We closed within this range in May, put in a doji in June. Love this setup, by the way. These lower wick dojis, looks like buyers have momentum. We eclipse all of it and we sell off. I do not believe we can take out this 208 level off of overnight S&P news. Nothing has materially changed fundamentally. And I really don't care about fundamentals, to be honest. Um, I haven't cared about it for a long time. I started that way in, in my investing career. And once I became, more of a trader, fundamentals became less relevant. If I'm looking for long-term value, obviously I'm looking at, fundamentals. But in this case, the only reason I'm bringing this up is because, in terms of the bull case, nothing has changed materially. If they wanted to sell, even on, the earnings numbers, uh, this last earnings call, just because it's included in the S&P does not mean anything has changed fundamentally, right? So the biggest thing with Reddit is a high beta stock, meaning that it's a lot more volatile than the index that it's in. In this case, it will now be S&P. It has, I think, a beta of like 2.03. So it's very volatile. right? The moves are aggressive and outsized relative to, um, you know, low beta stocks, negative beta, or neutral beta. But that's one. Two, it has substantial um, PE numbers, forward PE. So it's the highest amongst its peers, and it has to constantly generate bigger and better numbers all the time. And so that's kind of what happened. His last earnings call was, you know, the market saw that, hey, what pretty much got it here, which would be the U.S. user base, that's actually on decline. Yes, the rest of the world is opening up to Reddit, but where they make most of their money, which would be the US user base, that number is on decline. And so the market reacted to that. Great beat, EPS beat, top line beat, but because it's such a high beta stock, it has to continue. It has to like continue to have dang near, 70% year over year growth. And so that was kind of like the crack in the overall business model. But for me, from a technical perspective, is um, an opportunity that I'm looking at. Okay, so previous month close 140.67. The low of this current month 140.05. So there's no monthly imbalance. Okay, just meaning that the close of the previous month, um, you know, has been resolved. The price of the current month has reached the price of last month's close. Um, that was not true when price opened for August, as it opened here at 141.77, but it peaked lower. Okay. All right. So let's keep zooming in. That's the monthly. Here's the weekly. So this was the interesting part, and why we didn't take a position ahead of Friday. I wanted to see the high of this candle taken first. Okay, I thought, okay, maybe we'll stall out. Maybe by Friday we'll peak above it, if not next week. But with the news that dropped last night, we're obviously well above this level. And so here is the good part, the nitty gritty of this setup. All right, we're still not out of the water, right? And because we're not out of the water, again, I just think this is a great opportunity. If you're already short, this is a great place to add. Um, but we're getting the look I want to see. So we're well above the high of this candle, this weekly candle here. Okay, so the week after earnings, we're above that high. Um, it's a you know large body up close candle. All I want to see is price peak above and close below. Okay, so what are our key levels here? All right, so we have previous monthly open here at, just call it 175 because I think it's like 174.98. We'll call it 175. It's likely that we're going to open today's session above that level. Okay, I didn't have it drawn, but here it is. Drum roll, please. Okay, this is a textbook Fibonacci retracement setup. The high of this candle, okay, and the low of this candle. This is all of Q3 so far, okay? Q1, January, February, March, Q2, April, May, June, Q3, July, August, September. This is July. This is the low of July. So this is all of Q2, or sorry, this is all of Q3 so far. And so if we plot a basic um, Fibonacci extension on it, we'll see that this golden pocket where if we're trending in one direction, okay, and we pivot, and all you're basically doing is just plotting um, the high and the low of that trend of that move. Okay, so this is all of Q3, right? We're right in this sweet spot for a reloading for a short. Okay, we're clearly going to open above 171.64. And if we open below 180.23, anything above it is fair game. And I do think we'll peak above it. Um, we might not, but I think at a minimum for an entry, I want to see 180. I want to see 180. If we can get 180.23, even better. But I do think um, this is the area where you want to participate um, in selling. All right, and this is the weekly time frame. I do not know what this weekly chart is going to look like. I can't even speculate. Um, we still have the shorter time frame EMAs crossed. Okay, so this purple line for me, I believe, is the 9, and this green line for me is the 14, and this 50, or sorry, this red line is the 50 SMA. Okay, so on such like strong moves, you don't give the moving averages enough time to catch up, but they do tell a story in and of themselves. Okay, so that's one. The weekly time frame doesn't really have too much to glean from, other than I just wanted to see the high of this candle taken. Okay, this is the 10-day. Not as relevant as there's still about 7 days for it to close. The next one opens on Monday, August 24th. So I'll come back and check, and hopefully we are back below this 158 level by Monday. If we jump to the daily, okay, obviously we don't have any information to glean from here, but I do want to look at the moving averages. So these rectangles, if you've probably noticed in my other videos, this is part of my system. It's an indicator that I have that displays significant order blocks. Okay, so at a time, this order block is used for support. We found resistance here early August, and now we are gapped up into this earnings gap. This earnings gap is 100% going to close. All right, so 177.91. If you're already in and you're trying to find an exit, this is a great place to close out your position and collect that juicy profit. So like I said, moving averages, we are basically running into our longer term moving averages. For me, the blue line is a 200 SMA. This pinkish line is a 325 SMA. So if we can get a open below the 200, but then we peak to a high above 180, and we sell off below the previous monthly open of 175, even better below 171, and at its very best below 163 on the day. If we can do that, right, this level, if we come back below this level, this is the previous weekly high. This trade is on like Donkey Kong. Okay. So like I said, I want us to open. All right. Even if we open, below the 325, here at approximately 176.7, right? If we open, below this level, peak up here, close back below this selling zone, right? And even better, close back below 170 and at its best below 163. That's all I'm looking for. I'm not doing anything on open. I'm looking for where it opens at. I'm looking for this level first to get mitigated, and then I'm looking for this 180. And it's a sticky zone, right? There's no there's no outstanding calls here. There's the OI, I believe, for monthly expiration is maxed out here at 180. I think 200 has slightly higher open interest. But yeah, that's all we're doing. So we're targeting September puts. Honestly, anything where price just was 150s. I'm looking at 140s personally, but depending on your risk tolerance and you know how much you have to enter in on position, use that as your barometer. But this trade is absolutely dead for me if we take out these highs. Okay. If we move above 185.92, heck, I'll start to get squeamish above 182 and a half. But I want to see price preferably at 180, no higher than 185. But we're going to start, clutching our pearls at 182. Um, and I would love to see this day just sell off. But again, anything can happen. You got to trade your own plan if you're seeing something different. But this is what I'm seeing setting up. Okay. Uh, the only other thing I would have preferred to see the stochastic measures, which is basically just a gauge of momentum. As you can see here, we're consolidating for a few days between July 1st and July 15th. And we were, hovering above the 50 line for the stochastic measure. And it was mostly oversold and it was weakening as it was consolidating up here. And then we sold off. Okay. We have the inverse, right? We have consolidation down here at the lows with the rising um, stochastic, and this histogram is my MACD. Yeah, I just overlay them, just so I can get more information. But that's the only part of entering today that I do not like. I just do not like that this one part of my system isn't aligned, which means we can probably spend some time here. We can probably spend, I don't know, another few days here. So if you're trying to play a reversal today, good luck. Like, I just don't know what will happen, in that event. And so, yeah, I'm not interested in playing anything short term. Like I said, I'm looking for monthly contracts for September, and so that would be September 18th, which gives this substantial time to sort of work itself out. And so naturally, my target is right here in this other golden pocket between 98 and 90. Um, so yeah, we'll see. I don't know if I pointed it out. I don't think I did. There's an imbalance here. So in this up close candle has no lower wick. All right. So the open of this candle is 109.16. The low of this candle is 109.16. Uh, Easy target, super easy target. And if we start to show any signs of this trade working out, then that's like you know easy pickings for where it could go first. But ultimately, hopefully, we can find price trading below 100. And so, just to recap, quarterly chart is where we're basing our trade bias on. We want to see the low of this Q1 2026 candle taken out. And yeah, there's not a lot of time left in the quarter. So after August, all we have is September. And I feel like with Nvidia earnings um, and FOMC in September, like I feel like there's enough for the market to sort of like move off of. And yeah, this could be a generational play. But you have to be patient and just read the chart well. But that's what we're looking for. If you have any questions, I know the market's going to open soon in about 30 minutes. Um, we'll provide an update on some other tickers we're looking at. Those are setting up well, and there's probably confluence in other areas. as well. So yeah, hopefully this was helpful, and we will see you at the next one. As always, trade for tomorrow and be patient. Cheers.